Okay, so when you think about it, antisocial personality, asocial personality, introvert, person who has social anxiety, but oftentimes what people revert to is the extreme of sociopath, which is connected with antisocial personality disorder. But the fact of the matter is, sociopaths or antisocial personality disorder, they aren't antisocial at all. Because in order for a sociopath to work in society, they need to blend in with society. And for that to work, there has to be a society system. There has to be an actual system for sociopaths to blend in. And in order for them to blend in, there has to be a system where sociopathy or sociopaths or antisocial personality disorder, it's a learned personality trait. They didn't have coping mechanisms because they weren't provided a healthy childhood environment. What they had to do is they had to learn that, oh, in order to get what I want, in order to get my needs met, I can manipulate other people, I can control other people. And that is the basis of antisocial personality disorder, because antisocial personality disorder is a learned trait versus psychopathy. Someone who is an actual psychopath, that is something that they are born with. A sociopath can actually go through therapy and unlearn their coping mechanisms, because through their severe trauma, what they learned is that in order to get by in this world, I have to control other people. And in order for that to happen, sociopaths, they need a system in order to mirror, and they're basically children, and how they learn how to work the system is that they need a consistent system, which is society. Versus asocial personality, they simply reject society as a whole. They don't want to be part of it. They don't want to socialize. And oftentimes they can be motivated by having social anxiety. They just like find the comfort of themselves more comfortable. But the difficulty is that society confuses introversion, social anxiety, shyness. Shyness and social anxiety can be the same thing, but shyness can be simply not having a fear of socializing, but simply you need more time to get acquainted to a new situation. And that's all shyness is, because you see it in children when they're not comfortable with a situation. And if they haven't been provided a foundational environment where they can count on at least one adult individual to provide that foundation while they are introduced in a social environment that is new, and they have that time to kind of orientate themselves to that new experience. Because shyness is essentially you're just being more tentative to a new experience. And so there's this shyness, there's this like you're more reverted to not ultimately go into a situation right away, because you have this tentativeness of the unknown. Versus social anxiety is that you have had an inbred pattern from childhood and onward, where your brain has been programmed that with, as you have been socialized more and more, socialization, you've always experienced bad patterns of socialization. So even if you have been socialized and experienced other people, it's always ended up like your experiences with other people, with socializing with other people, has always ended up negative. So then that is why in your brain program, in your psych, you have then been programmed into like, oh, relationships are bad. And then whenever you experience a social interaction, you have that social anxiety. Oh, people are bad, people are like not reliable, so you're not sure. But shyness is different, because it's basically like it's the unknown. You haven't been programmed with a repeated cycle of like, oh, this thing is going to happen, because your brain hasn't been programmed with the social anxiety yet, where and you can have social anxiety and shyness at the same time, because shyness is literally that you are shy but you still want, like, a child can be shy, but they can be extroverted. So like there's so many dilemmas, and people think like, oh, antisocial personality disorder means you're antisocial, like you don't want to be equipped, or you don't have the skills to be equipped with society. But in the sense of like, yeah, it could be like you're not equipped to be orientated towards society, but antisocial personality disorder, ultimately in their design, it's that like the lack of empathy. And so they have learned, it's a learned trait, it's a learned personality disorder, it's a learned program of like, oh, in order to get what I want, in order to get through this life, in order to not consistently keep experiencing pain, I have to manipulate people. I have to hurt people to get what I want. Social personality is simply just like, you don't need to have that social anxiety, but often it's connected with that, what people describe it as. But asocial personality disorder is just like, you prefer your own company, or you prefer to be alone, but you don't have that social anxiety. And then introversion, extroversion are completely just, it's basically just where you get your energy. There are times where I feel like I've isolated myself so much that I just need to go out, I just need to be part of the community, I need to feel engaged, because as human beings, we are extremely social creatures. The reason we are here in this world, on this earth, that we have like come where we are, is through working as a community. Interesting, because antisocial personality disorder, they need to know the rules and regulations of society. They need society, so they can't, so to speak, break away from the matrix. That is literally their worst fear, and that is literally the reason why, if you ever experience a narcissistic person or a sociopathic person that wears masks, you seeing their ego or their true self is like the destruction of themselves, because it's a complete debilitation. I do identify myself as an introvert because I really don't need a lot of social interaction in order to get my battery filled up. There have been way too many people. I'm overstimulated. My battery wears down right away. Even if I haven't talked to those people, it's just because in order to charge my energy up, I don't need social interaction. I can engage in stimuli my own charge myself up by doing isolated activities that I just simply enjoy, and I don't need other people. I don't need to engage in social interactions in order to to get back that energy in my life. I had so many negative social interactions, social relationships, that is where my social anxiety stems from, and that is where my asocial, or my interest in preferring solitude, because even as a child, I learned to entertain myself very easily. And I found satisfaction in other ways through my own imagination. I had and still have a very vivid inner world, so I really don't need other people. But the difficulty is understanding that I'm still a social creature, that I'm still part of society. So there's still a part that's like, you need to be part of society, you need that community, you need that connection. And so I'm still trying to find like that connection. The interesting about antisocial personality disorder is that people misconcept that these individuals are antisocial, so they often target people that appear that they are antisocial. But if you think about it, antisocial personality, they manipulate other people. In order to manipulate other people, they can't be outed, they have to be accepted into society. So why would they put on a mask that basically calls them out as antisocial and as an outsider, where they are outside society? Because they need to be part of society. Antisocial personality disorder, they need a system in order to understand how it works. I literally dated a guy for a very short time that he revealed to me that to understand, he also dealt with severe childhood trauma. I mean, I learned he was a pathological liar. He was telling me how he actually got books on like psychology in order to understand human beings. He just didn't understand, so he had to understand like essentially how to be human by reading books. Working for them because it's masking them, it's providing that illusion where they're able to go behind the scenes and manipulate people and use the system as pawns for their schemes in order to get what they want. But I know that I have social anxiety, and I know it is connected to the fact that I've had a pattern of like, I've continuously tried to create a new pattern of creating healthier relationships, and the same patterns keep coming up, and so I keep repeating the same negative emotional patterns in relationships. In some cases, asocial personality could be based off having that social anxiety, because you have that pattern of like, when I connect with other people, when I try to create relationships, I keep getting hurt. But the difference between asocial and antisocial is that antisocial individuals, they lack, first of all, they lack empathy. They disregard other people's feelings because that's how they get what they want. These individuals, they need society, they need a system to learn from, they need patterns of human behavior in order to mirror back, in order to manipulate you. Asocial personality is essentially just, you want to be left the fuck alone. You're fine with being by yourself, or you're fine with limited social interaction.